Food, where I share my passions for making food, eating food, as well as traveling the world to discover and eat even more delicious food. Today we are in the fourth most populous country in the freaking world, which is Indonesia. We are actually in the capital city of Jakarta, which is really, really well known for delicious food, really, really crazy traffic, as well as the craziest shopping malls in the world. So we've already had a taste of some of the crazy traffic here. Anyway, you're probably wondering, if the traffic is so crazy here, why in the world am I standing in the middle of a very large street? The reason is because it's Sunday here. We are currently standing along Jalan Sudirman, which is a really big boulevard. It actually closes on Sunday mornings to allow people to bike, to run, to walk around leisurely on the street. And there are also a lot of different vendors that get set up here to sell different things, whether they're shoes, handbags, tissues. So Chris and I are going to be spending about 3 days in Jakarta exploring the different neighborhoods, also having some of the coffee, doing a little bit of sightseeing to see some of the old Dutch buildings, as well as a lot of the markets. Markets are a big reason that we like to travel, just to be able to see what different local vendors are selling, whether it means produce, different types of goods that are handmade, that are local to the area. We're also going to be exploring food, which of course is a big reason that we travel. Indonesia is known for having some of the most delicious, fragrant food in the world. They use all kinds of fresh herbs, fresh vegetables, and fruit. They're very, very heavy on galangal, on lime, on ginger, on your lime leaves. So a lot of the different spices that we're used to seeing in surrounding areas of Southeast Asia, as well as in South Asia, it's all kind of mangled together into a very flavorful, very fragrant cuisine that makes up Indonesian cuisine. We'll be touring around to see what the good eats are going to be, and we'll be taking you along so that you can also see what we're eating and how delicious the food here is. So we've started the first part of our walking food tour here in Jakarta. Our first stop in the South Jakarta area of the city is a place that serves Satays. So there's two different main types that they serve. There is a grilled chicken and then also goat. So in Indonesian, it's called Sate Ayam for grilled chicken skewers, and then Sate Kambing for grilled goat skewers. So we got a plate of each. It looks like they come with 10 skewers each, and the way that they're served is on a plate. They've also got them topped with some fried shallots, some tomatoes, cut up shallots that are not fried, and then I don't know what these little green things are that have a white inside, but they feel really soft, a little bit sticky almost. And then there's a big mess of sauce that's on the top of both of them. So this one's a goat one, and then this one is a chicken one. And it looks like the chicken one also has some sort of like a spicy chili paste, probably some version of like a sambal olek. You can smell how charred they are. In fact, we were watching them after we placed our order, and they just kept on constantly basting the meats on the grill with more and more of the sauce as they start getting more and more charred. They're using charcoal here, you can smell it, it's definitely very fragrant. They're constantly fanning it as they were cooking all of the skewers. And the lunch rush actually just started, so there's more and more people who are queuing up outside, and you probably heard a bit of traffic, but we're literally on the side of a pretty busy road where there's a lot of cars passing by, and also a lot of cars that are stopping in and pulling in to pick up some Satays for themselves. So we're actually sitting at a little table in front of the Indo Maret, which is a big chain of little kind of 7-Eleven type stores that are all throughout Jakarta that we've seen. And this place just happens to be right next door to the Sate Ayam spot. So we're gonna try the chicken skewer first. And I'm just gonna douse it with a bunch of the satay sauce that's on it, as well as the spicy paste that it came with. Here goes. You can smell the peanutty sauce on it, as well as that nice charcoal smell. It's quite savory. It's a bit sweet because of the peanuts. I can definitely taste that charcoal grill. It's really, really meaty. Ooh, and then that spice from the spicy paste comes at the end. So good. Meat's pretty tender too, but has a bit of a bite. Sweet, salty, savory, peanutty umami, and spicy at the end. I got a nice charred bit in my mouth, really crunchy. So now we're gonna try the goat skewer, so the goat satay. This one is a little bit different. The marinade is very clearly different. It's like a darker brown color. The sauce is a little bit thinner, and there's no spicy paste that came with this. This one has fried shallots on the top, raw shallots that have been sliced up. This sauce actually smells sweeter than the chicken satay. Okay. This one's so good. It's a bit chewier than the chicken. Has the same char flavor because of the charcoal. The meat is much meatier, like it has more chewiness to it. And the sauce is definitely sweeter. It's sweet, savory. Not very, it doesn't really taste like it has any peanuts in it. It's kind of almost like hoisin sauce, but different, like almost like nuttier. Definitely tastes gamier than the chicken. Okay, so we don't really know what this green thing is. So it's slightly green on the outside, on the inside it's white. Kind of almost looks like it's a vegetable, but we're not totally sure. And when we watched them unwrap it for us to put it onto our plates, it looked like it was steamed in some sort of like a banana leaf. So I'm just gonna add some sauce to it and then see what it tastes like. It honestly doesn't have much flavor. It might be like rice cake and wrapped in banana leaves. So maybe that's what the green color is coming from, and the inside just looks like it's like rice cake. It's really soft, a little bit chewy. I'm pretty sure this is steamed rice, just made into a cake. Good. So it's nice to have all these skewers after you finish the meat, because you can then use the skewers to eat these rice cakes. And the rice cakes seem kind of bland and simple in the beginning, but the more you eat them and the more that you douse them into the satay sauce, the tastier they are. It's basically like having rice as a side to something really, really rich and flavorful like satay meat, sauteed meat. Satay is actually one of the top things that I wanted to try while in Indonesia, because Indonesia is really, really famous for them and how delicious they are. And just seeing all the work that they were putting into all the skewers, all of them just lined up on the little like grill with all the charcoal underneath it and then constantly getting fanned. They're having a ton of love for the people making them and then constantly getting basted. You can tell how much work and how much effort it is to make these delicious sticks. So simple to eat, so much work to put in. It's definitely appreciated though. Ooh, I got a piece of chicken fat that was really charred. That was really yummy. So we've done a pretty good job eating all our skewers. So we had 20 total, 10 of each, and it's definitely very, very easy to eat. We could easily have eaten 2 or 3 more plates of these, but we definitely want to save our appetites for other things that we'll be eating today. So I think the name of this spot is Sate Ayam H. Romley, which I believe is the name of the person who probably owns it. But if you're in this area, I highly recommend you check it out. It's really, really delicious satay. Definitely hit the spot for the craving that I had in terms of that list that I made of dishes I absolutely wanted to try while in Indonesia. Food tour of South Jakarta is this little mall that is just a few blocks away from the satay place. And actually yesterday we found a street vendor that was selling kue ape. I didn't actually know what it was called yesterday, but the guy today explained it to me. So we got two different flavors. One, I believe, is vanilla, and then the second one is pandan flavor. And these things are basically like, if you're familiar with Sri Lankan cuisine or with Indian cuisine, in India they're called appam, and in Sri Lanka they're called poppers. And these are basically like, it's like fermented batter that is usually coconut based. I don't really actually know what the base of this is, but it's fermented, and then you cook it in a pan that is basically like kind of like a bowl, so that when you put the batter in and swirl it, this center part gets kind of like light and fluffy, and it kind of like all the batter kind of accumulates in the center, but then it gets these really nice crisp lacy edges on the outer edges. So these things are really amazing. The edges are nice and crisp, and the center is kind of spongy. It's really soft. So it's got that nice textural contrast from the center versus the edges, and they're so much fun to eat. As you can see, they look kind of big, but they're really, really light. And actually, we got, I think, 8 of these, so we got a mix. So half of them are vanilla flavor, half of them are pandan flavor. So it's a really nice, sweet, like slightly sweet snack to eat. They're not really that sweet at all. It's actually like very subtly sweet. And if you're wondering like what pandan flavor is like, I've been thinking about how to verbalize what the flavor is like. It's kind of like this sweet, kind of florally, buttery smell, and the flavor is really like that as well. So I love pandan flavor. I'm obsessed with all things that are pandan flavor. So of course, when I saw that these were green, I knew they were pandan, and I knew that I had to get some. But as you can see, it's almost like a honeycomb texture on the inside. Kind of has like little lines. It's really spongy when you like squeeze into it, and then the edges are still really crisp. It's been off of the pan for quite a while, but you can definitely still tell that it's really crispy. So I'm just gonna put this in my mouth and see what it tastes like. It's so good. It's really light, super airy. I love the textural contrast of the edges versus that spongy inside. And the pandan flavor is really light, but it's definitely very florally, almost tastes buttery, very slightly sweet. And you can totally tell just by looking at this vanilla one, like how kind of spongy on the top it is. You can tell it's fermented just by all these little holes that you see on the top, as well as on the edges. It's actually really, really pretty to look at, isn't it? I love this thing. Okay, I'm just gonna split this in half. Kind of see how spongy it is. So now we're gonna eat some of the vanilla one. This one's super, super spongy on the inside. Nice and crunchy and sweet. This one's also really light. The vanilla flavor is very faint. But you can definitely tell it's vanilla-y. Ooh, and then the vanilla flavor actually comes at the end after you chewed it up and swallow it. Warm, florally, buttery, sweet. Doesn't get much better than this. The next thing we got in this mall, which has so many different options, is kind of mind-boggling. It's almost like you want to try a little bit of everything, but unfortunately your stomach just can't handle it. So we were caught by this one stand that says Ice Cream Durian on the front. And of course, both of us are massive durian fans, so we couldn't resist. So we got one little cup of durian ice cream, and then they topped it with some sweetened condensed milk to finish it. So we're gonna take a bite of this to see how it is. Ooh, so the texture is actually kind of like icy. It's a little bit icy, kind of more like ice that might have been mixed in with a durian. And then of course there's also like the sweetened condensed milk. Definitely smells durian-y. It has that nice, creamy, sweet smell. It's kind of sweet, almost savory at the same time. Milky, creamy, almost like a little bit salty at the end. I wonder if that's like naturally coming from the durian. It's really good. Super creamy. The more you leave it on your tongue to melt, it's almost like it becomes a strange sort of sweet, savory, salty, creamy thing on your tongue. It just isn't as sweet as I thought it would be. It's just really, really creamy and nice. So we're continuing our food tour that is self-guided through South Jakarta, and I really wanted to try Bakso in Indonesia, which is basically Indonesian for a meatball. And the meatballs here are different. They're more like the Chinese meatballs if you've ever had them. They're characterized by a really kind of bouncy chewiness that is not characteristic of meatballs that you would typically have in European or American cuisine. Usually in Western cuisine, meatballs should be tender, they should be very soft, they should be very moist. But Asian meatballs really are prized for their bounciness, and that's usually achieved by kneading the meat more and more. So the more you work the meat, the more bouncy the meat tends to become. So it actually is quite laborious to make, but the texture is definitely what is characteristic of these types of meatballs. The place that we're currently at is along our walking route, which is called Bakso Solo. I'm not quite sure if it is a chain. It kind of looks like a chain. It's really comfortable on the inside. It's got like fake brick walls on the inside. There's lots of families in here who are eating. The menu is very small and very limited, so they clearly know what they are specializing in. So they were really quick. We got this bowl already. It's got 3 small meatballs along with 1 really big fat one, which I'm assuming has a filling. And then we've also got the egg noodles that are kind of thin, that are in a soup. So the broth looks super rich. It's like this really deep golden yellowy color. It also has these fried shallots that have been added. There looks like there's some spring onion or scallions that are in there. And there's also like this big crispy chip looking thing. It's probably like a piece of fried dough just to add some textural contrast. So the first thing we're gonna do is take a taste of this broth. It's super golden yellow. It's very, very cloudy, which tells me that it's gonna be a really rich broth, probably stewed along the way for hours and hours on end. Ooh, cloudy. It smells very chickeny. Oh wow, that's a very, very intense chicken broth. It's so chickeny, it just like screams chicken. Just kind of more chewy, more gamey than the typical chicken that you might have back in the US. They actually run around what chickens are supposed to do. It's very intense, it's salty, it's kind of briny almost. So, like I said earlier, I think there's 4 little meatballs here, and there's also 1 really big one, and I'm assuming that the big one is really massive because it actually is stuffed with something. So I'm gonna take a taste of the small meatball first, and then we'll move on to the big meatball to see what surprises us on the inside. Oh wow, that is so good. It's really bouncy, super springy. It's very savory on the inside. It's almost like it was infused with broth. Like you can taste that chickeny flavor in it, even though I think that the base of this is beef. The texture is so good. It's almost like it's like getting all springy in your mouth with every bite. So now I'm gonna take a taste of the noodles. So we got the egg noodles. Kind of thin, spaghetti-like almost. Even though the noodles are in a really strongly flavored broth, the noodles taste actually stands out on its own. They're definitely very eggy. They're also kind of springy in their own way. Very different than the springiness of the meatballs, but still springy. They have like a nice little bite to them too. So this little chip thing that's been on the side has been getting kind of soggy because it's been soaking in the soup. So I'm just going to take a bite of this to see what it tastes like. It really just tastes like a deep fried dough chip. So last but not least, as part of this Bakso experience, we're gonna finally cut open the inside of a big Bakso to see what's inside. So I'm gonna use my spoon and my fork and just kind of get in there. You can see that it has something else in there. So it's almost like another type of meat filling. I'm sure it's probably seasoned differently, but you can definitely tell this color is a little bit darker than this outside. We're gonna see what the difference is versus the little one that we just ate. Oh wow, a lot of things happening in here. The outside, like I said, springy, bouncy, chewy. Seasoned in a very certain way. The inside meat is a lot more tender, it's a lot softer. And it also feels like there could be like maybe cut up onions and different types of herbs and spices in it. But the predominant flavor of the inside part of this meatball is definitely pepper. The pepper just like kind of jumps out as soon as you bite into it, and then the more you chew it, the more peppery your whole mouth becomes. Kind of wanted to add some extra kick to this, so I noticed that there are a bunch of condiments that were at the table. So I'm gonna use some of this chili paste that was here and just kind of add it to my broth and my remaining meatball. Just gonna mix that up. Ooh, definitely see that the little bits of chili paste in there. Ooh, I'm not joking here, that's really good. That's a really nice kick. My throat's a little bit on fire right now. That's an added kick. My throat is definitely a little bit on fire right now, and I'm definitely sweating a little bit more because I added the spice, but it was definitely a nice touch to add even more flavor to these super flavorful meatballs. Especially that big one too. The amount of black pepper flavor coming out of the inside filling of the meatball was really, really intense. So if you ever come to Jakarta or anywhere in Indonesia for that matter, definitely look for Bakso. You'll definitely see it pretty much everywhere, whether it's in shopping malls, at different food carts that are along the street, at different restaurants. It's definitely a staple in Indonesian cuisine. So we did quite a bit of walking today in Jakarta. I can't even count the number of miles we've probably done and the number of steps. One of the last stops in terms of food today was actually a place that was really close to our hotel, and the place is called Martabak. Sorry if I'm butchering the name, but it's located on a street, again I'm probably butchering the name, but Pesenongan. It's right in front of the Emporium Hotel. They actually share a space on the street and sidewalk with a durian spot, which is why there's a picture of a durian on this box right here. So there's durian on one side, then there is the Martabak on the other. And for those of you who are not familiar, Martabak is basically a stuffed pancake or a fried dough. Usually has different fillings. This one that we got has a filling of eggs mixed with some spring onions. You can get it filled with so many different things. You can get it filled with cheese, you can get it filled with different types of meat. They also have dessert options, so they had options for things like passion fruit, chocolate, Nutella even. You can find Martabak in many different countries. You can find it in India, you can find it in the Middle East. This one, I'm not sure if there's anything that completely differentiates the Indonesian version versus other Martabaks, but I got to see the guy in action while he was making it. So there's one guy who was assigned to actually stretching out this long piece of dough. I'm assuming that there's quite a bit of oil in it because he was able to stretch it really, really quickly, and then quickly laid it out into kind of like a big kind of carpet type rectangle. And then it was super, super thin. He then threw it down into a bunch of oil that was already really hot. And then a second guy actually was able to fold it all together and then put the egg filling in. The whole process is really cool. It was really quick. It's amazing. It was really cool to be able to see how much talent really goes into stretching out that dough. I personally struggle with pie dough, so it was really interesting to be able to see how quickly they put all this together. So we decided to bring it back to our hotel to eat it because it was a bit noisy outside. We didn't want to disturb the people who were there eating their Martabak and their durian. So it comes in a branded box. As you can see, it's pretty nice. They're pretty established. So we chose the Martabak Telur. Telur just means egg. It looks like there are these kind of like little pickles as well as chilies. And then there's this sauce. Not quite sure what the sauce is, but it smells kind of tangy and sour. Definitely deep fried. It still feels pretty crunchy, so we're gonna take a bite of it together. So it's quite a big pancake, but then they slice it up into little pieces for you to easily eat and share. So here goes. This is really good. It's very well seasoned. It's really crunchy on the outside. The inside of the roti or the Martabak is really soft. you can actually see and feel the different layers of the dough. It's almost like multi-layered, probably because of all the different fats that are in there. And then the egg inside is really spongy, and there's some nice freshness from the spring onion. Super crunchy on the outside. So we'll try some of this pickle too. It smells kind of sour. There's also some chilies on the inside. It's like a sweet pickle. It's sweet and sour. Really crunchy. It's really good. Actually helps to cut the oiliness of the Martabak. A few blocks away from our hotel, we were trying to find a dessert spot because we really wanted something sweet and fruity. But unfortunately, we couldn't find anything on the street near where we got the Martabak, so we ended up going to a mall a few blocks further away. I think it's called Serena, and we decided, okay, we'll just go into the food mall downstairs to see what they have. And the first spot that really stood out to us for something sweet was a place that does kind of like what Indonesians consider like an iced fruit cocktail. So we ended up ordering the one that was called Oyen, at least I think that's how you say it. So there's a bunch of different things in here. So the base of it, it's a bunch of kind of like big ice chunks. There's also these red balls that I believe are made out of tapioca, as well as freshly shaved coconut, some avocado, jackfruit. They also topped it with a sugary syrup, as well as some sweetened condensed milk. So it's definitely a really colorful, beautiful looking dessert. Of course, I've kind of mashed it up a little bit because I just wanted to get all the flavors kind of mingled. So I'm just kind of trying to get a piece of all the different fruits in here to get a comprehensive bite. We got some jackfruit, the tapioca balls, the coconut flakes, or the coconut shaved, as well as the avocado, and then some of the ice. That's definitely really, really refreshing. It's like a lot of different flavors going on in here. There's definitely the creaminess and the fattiness of the shaved coconut. It's really smooth, the texture. And then it's really icy, obviously, because of the ice. The red balls are kind of chewy, but they're like all really small. So they're like really tiny, small, like chewy bites. And there's a lot of creaminess coming from the avocado. I wouldn't normally have thought avocado would go into a dessert like this, but it actually really works because it adds another interesting element to the overall package. And then on top of that, you've also got that meatiness and fruitiness coming from these chunks of jackfruit. And there's also that added sweetness because of the sweetened condensed milk. It makes it more milky and even more creamy. This is a really refreshing dessert. So this was definitely a really great end to the day in terms of our trekking around the city of Jakarta, eating a lot of different delicious things, like starting the day out with the satay and then ending it with this iced sort of fruity cocktail. It was just definitely a really nice end. Super refreshing, really delicious. Hope that if you come to Jakarta, you consider some of these spots that we have visited and eaten at today. I'll definitely leave all of the descriptions, the addresses, the names of these spots that we visited today in the description box below. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up. If you are traveling right now, I would love to hear where you are and what delicious things you are eating. And I'd really love it if you would subscribe for more food, more travel, more cooking as we eat our way through Jakarta as well as other cities that are on the itinerary coming up soon. Thanks again for watching. See you soon. Bye.